Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It looks like I will only be able to speak for part of my time today, but I will begin speaking in favor of Bill number 3. And this morning when I was thinking about this, there was a quote that came to mind that I saw several years ago. It's not clear who to attribute it to, but I think it captures this moment in history very well. The Stone Age did not end because the world ran out of stones, and the Oil Age will not end because we run out of oil. The question is, what will cause the Oil Age to end? And what will come next? And will it be because our species cannot survive anymore on this planet? Or will it be because we know there's a better way and we choose to go on that path? I only have a few minutes, and I want to prioritize saying certain things. I want to make sure that an important voice that hasn't really been heard in this discussion is heard, and I want to read a statement by Chief Rebecca Knockwood on behalf of Fort Folly First Nation. Dear Honourable Members, I am Chief Rebecca Knockwood of Umlungug, or Fort Folly First Nation. I am the co-chair of Mi'kmaq Yel Da Plu Daun, an organization which represents the Mi'kmaq of New Brunswick in advancing our Aboriginal and treaty rights. I was invited to provide this statement to you by our MLA, Megan Mitten. I am speaking to you today as our treaty partners who are bound to work with us in the spirit of shared stewardship of our territory and our natural resources. Fracking is an issue of serious concern to our Mi'kmaq communities. For thousands of years, the Mi'kmaq have been stewards of the lands and waters of our territory. The Mi'kmaq and the Fort Folly First Nation have historically and continue to fish in the Bay of Fundy and beyond, and fish, hunt, and gather on the lands and waters in between, including the Kennebecasis River and the Sussex and Penobscot area. We are deeply concerned about the impacts hydraulic fracturing may have on the lands and waters in this area and throughout our territory, and the fish, plants, and animals on which we rely for our sustenance and our cultural and spiritual well-being. We have already been heavily impacted by industrial activity in our territory. For us, water is sacred, and anything that pollutes our lands and waters is like a knife to the heart of Mother Earth. This government must remember that First Nations have never ceded our lands and waters, and that our territory extends throughout what you call New Brunswick. Fracking anywhere in our territory affects us. We must be consulted, and fracking cannot proceed in our territory without our consent. We met with the Hydraulic Fracturing Commission in October 2015 to share our concerns. In their report, they urged the government to adopt a nation-to-nation consultation process with First Nations that would include cumulative impact assessment and Indigenous-led research and monitoring. They made this a condition that must be met before any moratorium could be lifted. I can tell you today that that condition has not been met. Although we have presented the province of New Brunswick with numerous opportunities to work toward a true nation-to-nation relationship, one rooted in our treaty relationship, and have provided the government with proposals to institute Indigenous-led research and monitoring programs. Those proposals have not been accepted or implemented by the province. A government that is willing to spend almost $10 million on police and military force against our brothers and sisters in Elsipogtog has not been willing to spend time or money repairing our relationship. That relationship remains as it was when we met with the Commission, broken. I urge you to take a step back and read the report of the Commission on Hydraulic Fracturing, to sit down and listen to First Nations, to begin the work of repairing our relationship. Maybe then we can talk about how we move forward together. So that ends the statement from Chief Rebecca Knockwood, and in my remaining few seconds, I just want to say that there are other options. Hydraulic fracturing is not the only way to bring investment into this province. It is not the only way to create jobs, and in fact, it's the last thing that we should be doing. Right now, governments are meeting in Poland and trying to figure out how to salvage a climate for us, and we need greener jobs, not Green Party green, greener jobs that do not increase our fossil fuel emissions. We need to create a future for our children and grandchildren that is livable, and we need to guarantee good jobs, and they do not have to do with fossil fuel industry. That's the path we need to get off of. We need to transition. It can't happen overnight, but we have to start now. We have to start going in the right direction, and I look forward to continuing to speak in a few months. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.